Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and I always thought the Janeway protocol was no talking before coffee. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you. Good to be back.
You're back. The dream team. Yes. Back on the beat. Here in the second week of 23 weeks of Trek.
Isn't it your dream? Why didn't they do this at the beginning of COVID?
That would have been great, wouldn't it?
I would have lived.
Yes. 23 weeks of Trek, and then we get some time to maybe think about what we saw, and then maybe a little more. The promise of something a little more in the summer or fall. But no, 23 weeks of Trek carrying us to the end of the year. What do you think about that?
Smooth exit from 2020. Great. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot, but, this is what we've been doing this for a while now, Discoverage. It's what we've been hoping and praying for. More Star Trek, and here it is. You weren't here last week, but did you get to see Second Contact?
Yes.
What'd you think of Second Contact?
I liked it. It was a first episode, but I think it was a much stronger first episode than, I don't know, name a Star Trek series. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
I'll name a Star Trek. The original series, TOS. Is it better than Clint Howard drinking grapefruit juice?
That's not fair. Don't you come in here with that. I can't answer that.
Or Nancy Crater trying to get her plum. Yeah. I don't know if you heard our Discoverage from last week, but we had thoughts about it. And I think it's definitely... Is the Millennium Falcon, right? That's the one that, it's the wrong franchise, but that's the one that you have to kind of pound on it a little bit before it'll go light speed.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this show gets a little bit of pounding and takes off into light speed, or I guess warp in this case. I was also saying last week...
You're not impressed by the first two episodes?
Well, we'll talk about Envoys, the second episode, in a little bit. But I've never seen like Star Trek comedy before, other than like Jim Belushi doing Kirk on SNL, and I just don't like I don't watch the Orville. Like, how does this? Have you watched the Orville?
Actually, I have. I've watched like the first 4 episodes now.
Yeah. How does this compare?
And it's a little like the Orville.
Is it kind of like the Orville?
But. I mean, it's not like it's a carbon copy. Like, I wouldn't call it like a competitor, but just because of now that I've seen the Orville and then watching this, the comparison's very like direct. Although the Orville, I feel like centers around like the bridge crew. And so it is different.
Yeah, right.
In a likable way. Yeah.
One thing that I like about this show is, they've taken this Lower Decks concept that we're going to follow of these characters that are maybe less responsible than like the senior staff of a ship, but they still have like the senior staff, and they knew that they would need like a deep bench of characters to kind of to bounce things off of and like run the Lower Decks characters into. And so it isn't just like, and they kind of did that like on the TNG episode as well, having the characters be like, oh, there's Commander Riker, go talk to him, he's from Canada, and like just sort of screw things up in that way. But yeah, it's an interesting and varied roster of characters that I like so far. The one thing that I wanted to say that I think I had said last week, or maybe not, is that I was reading an interview with Mike McMahon, and he was talking about like their philosophy about writing the show and writing jokes for the show, and he said that like the number one rule for them is that they don't want to punch down on Star Trek. And that like really took me aback, because I was like, how do you punch down on Star Trek? Like it's a 50-year-old franchise. Everybody knows it. Even if you don't watch it regularly, you probably have fond memories or associations with it. So it's like, I figured that these guys, would be, they're here to bury Caesar and not praise him. Take a couple shots at the throne. But apparently they don't want to. They don't want to be mean to Star Trek.
I think it's kind of sweet. It's like I love, here's what it is, and I'm not saying that I'm very impressed by the first two episodes. I don't think they're bad. This is not a direct analogy, but like I love a bad movie that was made honestly versus I hate watching a parody
Okay, yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Um, so if I went to watch Lower Decks and it was like a bunch of semi-cheap shots that were like funny when like it's like yeah, okay, that's funny, like any spoof movie is like they have bits in it where you're like, okay, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah. I think you're right, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I never really checked out the Orville is because I figured it
Yeah,
would just be making fun of Star Trek, in kind of a mean spirited way. But most of the people I've talked
yeah.
to have said it's like barely a comedy. It's basically just like TNG.
I was wildly impressed by the four episodes I saw, although I don't know what it says about it that I watched. I think I watched like three and a half actually, and then never and then never finished. But I
Okay.
was I was insanely impressed, and it did have a. I didn't expect it to feel like Star Trek. It felt more like Star Trek than I would like to admit to the people who tell me that it's the
Yeah.
best Star Trek on television.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
So
no, it is. Yeah, it is barely. It's very funny,
it's
but it is barely a comedy. I would
it's
agree.
possible to do a Star Trek then.
Yeah.
Someday on, I haven't done it yet. I'll have to watch the Orville at some point because I want to do a show on not Trek rip-offs, but like Trek pastiches. So
Yes.
something like the Orville or that Black Mirror episode that was
Oh
sort
my
of a,
God.
yeah, it was sort of a Star Trek riff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and to try to get to like, because I think I know Trek like when I see it, but if I had to create something that was Trek or Trek inspired, I don't know what I would put in necessarily. If I couldn't put in, warp drive,
Hmm.
shields, beam me up, Scotty. What's the core principle? What's the thread that runs through Trek?
The very dramatic intro, like
Yeah,
shots and theme, very
right.
cinematic.
Yeah.
Cut to the cinematic montage of the ship with the orchestral music behind it,
Yes. Yes. Right.
and then the slightly old-fashioned text, like upper left corner for the title in quotes.
Yeah, and they're going hard with that, and it's funny because it's weird to see. They're just using the TNG theme or font, but now it's of course in 16:9 instead of 4:3, and so it's in the corner, but it's like way in the corner, which I
Yeah,
guess is just the way
yeah.
it has to be. Yeah. Um,
It was so funny. I was watching the first two episodes. I was watching them with my roommate on the couch, and it was so funny because the intro started for the first like episode, and I was kind of like, oh, like, and then Gene Roddenberry's name came up, and I was like, oh, and she was just like, uh-huh, yeah, it's Star Trek. It
little
is
little
another Star Trek show.
hit of nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started, I thought we could talk a little Star Trek news. Um, this what am I trying to say? Alex Kurtzman was being interviewed this week, and he was talking about what's coming up for the franchise, just in the wake of the delays, due to COVID. And he
Mhm.
was saying that writing for Star Trek Discovery season 4 is already in process, and they're going to start shooting on Strange New Worlds in 2021.
I mean, they got to do something. They gotta keep everyone employed.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a big thing. And this was with the Gold Derby, the website Gold Derby, which I feel like they're always talking to Gold Derby. Why do they get all the scoops? Alex, call us. I got so many amazing Spider-Man 2 questions. Um,
Someone's like nephew.
yeah, they do like pools for like awards, right? So when Discovery is nominated for awards, somebody reaches out, I guess, and then Gold Derby is also providing like entertainment news. It's like, hey, where's your lane here? Come on,
Oh my God.
get off my lawn. And he also said about the show that the COVID thing hasn't really slowed them down all that much. Obviously some of the processes get held back, but they've basically moved all of their writers' rooms to Zoom, which I've never really been in like a big TV writers' room, but I'd imagine that would be a pretty good way to do it.
I mean, You know, here's the thing about Zoom is it's much better than like 50 years ago if there's a pandemic. Yeah, it's much better to be in a Zoom room, but it doesn't really like replicate. I feel like, I don't know, like just being in Zoom classes and like Zoom like staff meetings, it's like
Yeah.
it's cool and it's nice and it's helpful, but it is also I didn't learn anything
Real? Yeah,
and I
really?
don't. And so during my Zoom classes,
Yeah.
oh no. No. I didn't learn anything. Um so I would imagine that even more so than a classroom, the writer's room, I would expect a lot of that like energy to
Yeah.
come from them all and like community and like a lot of the like creativity to come from them all being in the one room
I can
and
see
being able
that.
to like bounce stuff off of each other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have to provide your own bad coffee and Swedish fish or
Yeah,
whatever,
exactly. Exactly.
which isn't quite the same. And he also said, well, he actually said a couple weeks ago at Comic-Con at home that 10 stories for the first season of the Pike show have already been broken. So they are working on those. I don't
Wow.
think they're, oh boy, maybe I should go to Gold Derby, but I'm not sure if there's an order yet. Like we know how many there'll be, but it'll be at least 10, which is, that's like the bare minimum for what they've been doing recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good news. If everything keeps going on track, we could get it in 2022.
I mean, fingers crossed, I guess. I'm, as always, a little nervous about just the sheer amount.
Yeah,
I would like them to all be good,
yeah,
so that's my concern. But very excited to have them back on track. It's gonna be very fun.
yeah. And of course, Discovery season 3 premieres on October 15th, and that's, let's see, the 11th week of Star Trek. Uh,
Let me
maybe,
count one real quick.
yeah, maybe Strange New Worlds will premiere on the 126th week of Star Trek. We'll see.
Just never ending.
And a partridge in a pear tree, yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we've just seen the second episode of the new animated Star Trek series, Lower Decks. It's an episode called it's not called Second Contact, it's called Envoys, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, there's a warning. We're setting course for the spoiler zone, listeners, so be warned. We're glad you've decided to join us. But if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers for it are incoming. The official synopsis for Envoys is, after a high-profile mission goes awry, Boimler is further plagued with self-doubt when Mariner proves herself to be a more naturally talented sci-fi badass than he. Rutherford quits his job in engineering and explores other departments on the USS Cerritos. This episode was written by Chris Kula. Kula got his start improvising at the Upright Citizens Brigade, and he's been a staff writer for shows like Community, Mad TV, and At Midnight. And the episode was directed by Kim Arndt. Arndt is a storyboard artist and director, having worked on shows like Daria, The Venture Brothers, and Super Jail, and has directed episodes of Big Mouth and Mike McMahon's other animated series, Solar Opposites. As far as the guest cast goes, a couple guest performers this week. Jess Harnell appears as Corinne. Harnell is a voice actor and a singer. He voiced Wacko Warner in Animaniacs and is the voice of Crash Bandicoot in the Crash Bandicoot series. And also, just voice acting legend Tom Kenny appears in the episode as Quimp. No introduction really required. Suffice it to say, he is the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants. And there are a few interesting aspects to this episode. This is the first episode in the entire franchise in which one of the characters, just a single character, is seen wearing all three colors of uniforms in the same episode. This is, of course, Ensign Rutherford. Previously, only Tracy Lee Coco as Ensign J was the only performer to be seen in all three division colors, although that was in separate episodes. This episode marks the first appearance of a Vendorian since the animated series. That's the shape-changing floaty guy. Not an Andorian, a Vendorian. Wow. Yeah. The last appearance of that race was in the animated series episode The Survivor. This is the first episode to feature the appearance of both TNG-style and Discovery-style Klingons. And this is the first episode in Trek to feature a censored expletive. Cowards.
I thought it was funny. Sometimes I think it's funnier when they bleep it.
Yeah. Like when you watch, you get Venture Brothers on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and they just don't put the bleeps in, and it's like, that's kind of funnier when it's bleeped, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I've been trained. What'd you think about this week's episode, Envoys?
I really liked it. I really liked it, honestly.
Yeah.
I was very entertained. I had a very good time. It's feeling a lot more like, and I get that this is funny because it's a cartoon, but it's feeling like more real than I think because the lower decks thing, the angle they're taking, it feels very like, I don't know how to describe it.
Real.
Like, yes. Like, honest. I'm like, yeah, I definitely buy that, like, this is what it's like being, like, an ensign on, like, a kind of a crappy starship, you know what I mean? Because it's not like exactly, it's like, obviously not every ship is the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the TNG episode, where their lives are kind of boring. Like, he wasn't Vorak, he was Dorak or something like that on TNG, but he's just pissing off his boss, Geordi, and Geordi's like, okay, I got it, kid. All right, get out of here. And then they go and, like, have a drink in 10 Forward and just go, boy, this is it, huh? Like, there's no, like, hot bananas flying at them or anything like that. Yeah, it's a lot different.
Yeah, I was afraid that I would hate it. I mean, to be honest, Rick and Morty, I used to watch Rick and Morty a bit in high school, and I find that adult cartoons, especially Rick and Morty, go from very funny and very entertaining to just like the humor of like a 13-year-old boy who can't wait to be in a frat, like, very fast.
Yeah.
And that was my fear for Lower Decks, and so far I'm pretty happy.
That's interesting, because I think that Lower Decks could use a little more of that. Everybody's so nice, they're so happy and kind, and in Shakespeare plays in the 24th century, and I was expecting, it's all concentrated in one character basically. It's like Mariner is just, a total slob, but also a total badass, and everybody else is, they're all just like TNG characters with slightly frayed edges, maybe. But I was expecting like a little more slack, like a little more,
more zhuzh.
Like taking a character from Rick and Morty or some, like one of those cartoons that you were describing, and seeing how they do on the Enterprise. I like the concepts of all the characters so far, but here's something. Just being, from a different generation than me, maybe you could tell me. Everybody talks so fast on this show. Am I just getting old, or are they really packing in, like, the word count?
Bit of both.
Both, maybe. So a bit I'm getting old, and a bit they talk fast. That's fair.
Yeah, they definitely talk. And here's why: because I noticed, especially Mariner, I was like, oh my god, I was like, it was like in a happy way. I was like, oh my god, everything is so fast. I love that it's like boom, 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 but the delivery feels like natural. Like,
I had to put the closed captioning on just to make sure I didn't like miss something.
I mean, I always have closed captioning on every TV show, but like, I mean, that's because I barely speak English. So, but no, they do a little bit. They talk fast, a little bit. Maybe you're getting old, but that's okay.
As we learned last week, Mariner is, the captain's daughter. We don't yet know if that's like a secret. I'm assuming that, obviously the family knows, but we don't know why she has a different last name and if that's a public knowledge on the ship. And so, like, I like the idea that she's a character who is, there's a lot of pressure on her. She's got a captain mother and looks like an admiral dad, and she's probably trying to run away from that responsibility. But I don't know why she's, like, so good at everything. Like, in this episode and in the episode previously, the whole shot of the thing is that, like, Boimler sucks, and then Mariner, knows what it is, and she's kind of fixing it all, and he's along for the ride. And that feels very Rick and Morty to me. Like, it's like Rick is always right. You know what I mean? And I think,
And Boimler's like, oh, geez, I don't know.
Oh, gee. Yeah, Mariner, no. And we've got a lot of episodes left. I know we're heading to something, but I think that she would be more more relatable if we saw that she was more fallible. It's not like, I know that they feel like that's built in because it's like, yeah, but she's also a slob, and but it's like, yeah, but it's Riker screws up, Troy screws up, people screw up.
I really laughed that Troy reference. And I don't know if it was this episode of the one before where she's naming all she's like, Spock soon, and she's saying all this stuff, and at the very end she goes, Deanna Troy, that jumpsuit. I was like,
yeah, right. Yeah, they had me going at the end of the episode because they had the whole thing where, oh, that's a Bolian. It's like, no, that's a Ferengi. And I'm like, what? Okay, I guess it's possible that, she's seen the galaxy, but she's never been to Ferrignar, never seen a Ferengi or something like that.
Oh, you didn't think she was doing it on purpose?
Well, I was taking the show at its word because I found it almost unbelievable that she wouldn't know. And then, of course, no, she didn't. She had planned the whole thing. And it's like, Michael Burnham was super fallible. I love Michael Burnham. Why is this character so perfect? Yeah.
I like it, though. I like that she has this past where she used to be much higher ranking.
Yeah.
And now she's not, I do like that about her. But you're right that she is perfect at a lot.
And he's all worried about the Klingon. He's like, is it Nuch Nech or Nuch Nech? And then the Klingon walks in and she's like, you son of a bitch. And of course she knows Klingons. All the cool characters know Klingons. Okay, so we established that they definitely are talking a little bit fast, so I'll just have to learn to keep up.
Tiny bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you get a Farpoint vibe from the planet, the station that they were dropping Corin on off at? It had this central thing that had like a spire and these things, and I was like, oh, is that like a visual reference to Farpoint?
I did not. I mean, I did not notice. No, I was like, pretty, but I wasn't like, is that a thing? No, I was like, cute.
I know that they are. I got caught out because I didn't talk about any of the visual Easter eggs last week. And then as the week went on, I was on Twitter and just seeing everybody's picking out all these cool things. So I was trying to keep my eyes off the closed captioning and on the screen to find stuff today. Something else, visual question I have: Does Boimler have purple hair, or is that just like a stylization in the animation?
What do you mean?
I mean, just how like Superman. They often draw Superman. He's got black hair, but they use blue highlights, and it's not like he's got blackish blue hair. It's just the reflection of the sky.
He has purple hair.
Okay, I wonder is that is that an affectation, or does he come from a colony or a planet that has a gene pool that's got purple hair, or is he a mixed race guy?
I kind of assume that there's in the future, it's easier to dye your hair.
I bet you're right.
He just sits in the chair and it just zaps him, and he's like, "Yeah, I look
Mott
cool."
Or whoever is. Yeah. You just change it. Like Total Recall, the lady could just click her little fingers and the things change.
Yeah.
I was watching.
There's another character with blue hair.
Yeah, that's true. But are they a human?
I thought so.
Okay. I was watching Sub Rosa the other day. Don't ask. And the ghost possesses you and turns your eyes green. So Beverly's blue eyes become green, and Picard's like, "What's your eyes? They're a different color." She's like, "Oh, I just got tired of the old color." So yeah, I think maybe cosmetic surgery is just a lot easier in their future.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm sure that it's like zap, and then your hair is just purple, and it grows purple.
See, they should exploit that.
And it doesn't get all over your white pillowcases like me.
Yeah, I want to see whether the characters on Discovery just go, "I'm sick of my look," and then just every week Reese comes in with a new hair color, or an extra ear or something like that. Stop just trying stuff out.
An extra ear?
Yeah, well, hey,
I can hear better. I can hear better with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's I actually can't hear anything, but, it just sets off my forehead, so, yeah. What else is going on in this episode? This episode's it's like a typical, we've got a problem. It's sort of like, have you ever seen the movie My Favorite Year?
No.
It's a story about, Peter O'Toole is this aging actor, and...
I love him.
The guy from...
Wait. Is this... No, it's not. Is this the comedy where he's a drunk?
Yeah, well, Peter. I said Peter O'Toole, right? I want to make sure you heard that. Yeah, he's drunk. Yeah,
Yes,
and
wait, actually, yes,
the
I love that movie.
yeah, the guy from Perfect Strangers. I can't. Mark Lynn Baker, I think is his name. I'm not sure. He's like a writer on a comedy show. This is all based on
Yes,
like Sid
yes.
Caesar's experiences, and he's got to keep Peter O'Toole sober because he's going to appear on this show. But he's nervous because he's an actor and he's not like a TV guy. That's kind of what it reminded me of. They had to like get Corin to the
Oh
peace
my
talks on
God.
time, but instead they're just chasing him all over the planet. And it's like, okay, that's a concept. That's a good concept for an episode.
I didn't even think about that. They
I,
should have. I wish it was more Peter O'Toole-esque. I love that guy.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't even know how you do that. Just put him in a
It's the walk. It's all in the walk.
yeah. It's definitely in the walk. That's for sure. And the blue eyes. If you just lost my train of thought. In the episode, there's a plot line where Rutherford is going to change jobs, and I love this.
Yeah.
See, this is like, when they're running around, they're bowls of worms, and like that kind of humor's fine. But like, I really like the humor that like is kind of skewing into Trek and the tropes. And I love the fact that they have this plot line where he's just like, well, I'm going to change departments. And then everybody's like, oh, that's great. And so he runs through the entire, like, just like, in TNG, like now Data's wearing red because it's Tuesday or something. Like, I like the idea that you can just easily detach from a department and then just go do
Yeah.
something else. Yeah.
Literally, like in the like he's doing surgery.
Yeah. And then he goes to the security department and he's like, okay. And he beats up all the Borg and they're like,
Flips the
you're a
switch.
natural, son. Oh my God, this is amazing. But then he sees the Jeffries tube beckons.
I know. I mean, me too, dude. The sets in New York, I was
Yeah.
like, I understand completely.
Yeah. Do they have that
Just want to
the
cram
diagonal
yourself in
tube
there.
that Scotty climbs
Yeah,
up?
you can crawl up in it.
Oh wow. I gotta go.
I wish that I could take a sleeping bag.
Yeah, they had those, didn't they? They had a gym on the Enterprise where you do tumbling because that was working out in the 60s. Now watch this. Front roll. Nice. I really like the part where Ransom takes him to the holodeck and they do the command simulation. And that was another
Yeah.
part, another joke that I think is really like skews into TNG, where they're like, "Oh my God, we lost the kindergarten, we lost the pre-K. All the children on the ship are dead."
And he just goes, all those kids.
All those kids. See, that's punching up right there. Yeah.
That was funny.
And I like the fact that like everybody's immediately covered in blood. The one thing that they forgot is somebody's console had to blow up and just splatter them all over the wall.
Yeah, no one's console went off. No one was like screaming and dragged off the bridge,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
just covering their face, and you're like, oh no, God.
They go to like a pleasure quarter type section on this planet, and we see a gigantic Horgon. We get some mentions of Jama Haron, obviously. I liked when when Mariner's like, I gotta go, blood, peace, and blood wine. And it made me think, like, yeah, maybe if you drink a lot of blood wine, maybe your pee turns bloody or looks like blood.
Oh, we gotta, right? I'm like, I don't know why I'm like, of course, yes.
You're like, yeah, sure, of course.
I'm like, yeah, why, yeah, uh-huh.
I think that's how it works.
I
Yeah.
always thought that. You never thought that? I always assumed that from the beginning.
I've been waiting to see that on screen for years. You're always drinking
I
this
told
blood
them
wine.
to say that.
Yeah. So anyway, it's these are kind of shorter episodes, and there's some specific bits and things that we can call out. But is there anything specific that you wanted to cover or talk about in the episode?
I don't know. I think it's going to be more, I mean, maybe, honestly, I don't watch very many, like, cartoons, which is, like, a lame thing to say, I feel. But, like, I'm excited to see how it shapes up over the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the episodes so far, we only have 2. I'm, like, pretty happy with. And, yeah, their thing about, like, punching up is good. And, I'm loving the humor and the characters, but yeah, I'm just so excited to see like what they do with it, kind of. Like I just rewatched Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Oh, really?
and the character development alone in that series is like amazing, and that's what I'm kind of hoping we get here too. I mean, not on that level, you know. Maybe it maybe is a little bit lower stakes, lower decks, lower stakes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. I'm very excited.
Well, we're actually doing a episode on comedy on enterprising individuals coming up, comedy and Trek. And I was talking with a comedy writer on the show, and one of the things that we kind of pegged was that Trek Trek isn't really all that funny all the time. Like it's not, and it's not trying to be. It's not like Cheers, although I would watch Cheers in space for sure.
Oh my God, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, just do it like a 10 forward, a 10 forward show.
Yes.
But we were talking about how
Trademark that right now.
yeah, we gotta delete this and then
Gotta get
flashy thing. Everybody that's listening, yeah.
If you heard that, you didn't.
Yeah, you did not. You didn't hear that. But just the idea that like when Trek really nails comedy, it comes like from the characters. Mm-hmm. So like it comes from I was watching an episode the other day. It's the one where it opens with Data. Picard is taking a painting class, and Data, he's like, "Oh, what do you think, Data?" And Data's like, "Do you want me to really be honest?" And he like tears it apart, but he doesn't know that he's being mean. He's just commenting on the styles that Picard is using and how they don't clash. And he's like, "Okay, shut up, just shut up." It's like stuff like that. And so it won't be until like we really get to know these characters and they really form connections that we're really going to be able to mine like that kind of comedy. Like at this point, I feel like it's a lot of like, oh, I know Jamaharon. Yeah, that's okay. That's a reference. Like it's a lot of reference comedy. So I'm waiting for it to be around for a while so it can kind of open up more. And on that note, do you think is the orb thing a runner? At the beginning,
A runner?
yeah. At the beginning, they meet this orb that like wants to take over the ship or whatever, and then it gets reduced to a little bit, and then it goes into the captain as she's trying to figure out if it's warp time or whatever. So do you think that is going to come back in later episodes?
Oh, I mean, I guess.
Like the Tilly spore.
I mean, no, yeah. That's what I was thinking. If you know what, if it does, I'll be a little salty. I won't be mad, but I'll be a little salty around the rim. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Like a margarita, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess I thought that it just kind of like, blew. It was so small after, making her the nice tricorder with the purple stripe.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. That's a good point, though.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were, planting something
doing
for
a
the
bit,
future.
or like, yeah.
Because I think they keep saying like every new show that comes out, and I don't care either way, but every new show that comes out, they keep saying we want to do a little more standalone stuff, just sort of like these episodic type things.
Yeah.
And then like every single show,
and then we're like, what happened to the spore?
10 episodes of Picard is just a movie. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if it's going to come back, but I think that's pretty much it. I wouldn't wish for a tricorder. If I caught a space orb genie.
Did you say you wouldn't, or you would?
No, I would not. You could.
Well, what would you wish for?
Well, there's so many things. Who even knows? Like, I don't even know what they've got in their future that is off limits. But a tricorder, you could just go replicate a tricorder, right?
I mean, but apparently not, because she's like, give me one of the new ones.
Yeah,
she wants it bad.
See, they are junior officers, so we follow on TNG the senior officers who can just replicate a gun, like they can do whatever they want. They've got the codes.
Their budget is through the roof. It's unlimited.
These guys have nothing, so they got to save up to just make a crossword puzzle book or something. Yeah. Okay.
I would ask for a when you download like a police scanner app and you feel like a fugitive, like you're like, oh, I'm really getting in here. I've gotten into the mainframe.
I can honestly say no, but I guess, but I can understand, I guess, what you're saying.
Not even when the whole city was on fire? We're living through a very interesting time.
I have a friend. That's true. You're not wrong. I have a friend. When I was much younger and the world wasn't on fire, I had a friend that had a police scanner app, and he got so excited about showing it to me, and we sat and listened to it for a half an hour, and it was just like It was like cat in a tree. It's just like the dumbest, most boring.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for cops. Like, I mean, hopefully, if you're doing a good job, you don't have to do a SWAT team thing. But it's just this is all they do all day. Jeez.
Well, I mean, they sound just as dumb when they are using the SWAT team, so it's okay. But but I would want that, but like to listen to the if you were Mariner, wouldn't you be like, I want to listen in on their conversations up there? Like I want to tap into it. Like I want like a magic communicator that I can just it's like a police scanner, but for the like bridge channels, so you can hear them being like, yeah, the captain got infected by like a virus and now he wants to have children with like a lizard. Like that's what I want.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a remember in that DS9 episode they had the guns that could like see through walls? Give me like a non-gun version of that so I can spy on what my mom's doing. Yeah. Get all the dirt on Ransom. He's probably got like really cheesy underwear that he wears or something like that. Yeah.
Red heart.
Yeah, right. The red hearts. Right. Okay, so that's what she gets then. Well, I think we did it. I think that is it for our show this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPod for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. And you can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at eistpod@gmail.com. Also, while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to the show feed and give us a rating and a review because it really helps us out. If you want to help the show grow, you can stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTpod. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on August 20th for the third episode of Season 1 of Lower Decks. That one's called Temporal Edict. And again, we don't know much about it, but we will talk about it next week. We'll be going live once again at 7 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on social media at EISTPod to get notified when we're live and we're broadcasting. And in the meantime, you can check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I'm joined by a special guest to discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. Our latest episode just dropped, and on it, I'm joined by Warp Drive expert and Trek franchise consultant Dr. Aaron McDonald to talk about the 7th season Voyager episode, The Void. And there's a good amount of Mass Effect talk. If you're into that, you can check that out at enterprisingindividuals.com. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Lower Decks and remind people where they can find you online.
I'm at Gondor Gold on every platform. Same with my main podcast, Generations Geek, at generationsgeek.com as well. Yeah.
All right. And that's it for us. Thanks for listening, and we are signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying live long and prosper.